Now we are going to see a technique using which we can find the GCD of two numbers in an easy way. Remember that how did we define GCD? We defined the GCD of two numbers A and B to be the largest among the common divisors of A and B. So the steps involved in finding the GCD were find out the set of all divisors of A, the set of what divisors of B. So we called it as dA and dB, the sets. Then we took the intersection of these two sets, that is CAB, which is a set of what common divisors of A and B, and then we located the largest in that CAB. So this is the step. These are the steps that we follow for finding the GCD of A and B. But the difficulty with this problem is that suppose that these two numbers are very large, A and B are very large, then most probably the number of divisors of A and B is also going to be very large. So we have to write down all the divisors of A and B, then we have to take the intersection and so on. So this is actually a very long procedure. Instead of doing all these things, instead of finding all the divisors, we have an easy technique using the division theorem, and that technique, that algorithm is known as Euclidean algorithm for finding the GCD of two numbers. We are going to discuss that algorithm now. The most important observation that leads to Euclidean algorithm is the following. Suppose that we are given two integers a and b, and for the convenience, we are going to assume that a and b are positive integers. So let a be positive integers. Then by division theorem, we can write there exist unique integers q and r such that a equal to bq plus r, with r satisfying the condition that 0 less than or equal to r less than p. This is a crucial observation, and we are going to make use of this identity. A is equal to bq plus r. Now, suppose that C is a common divisor of A and B, and C is positive. Suppose C is a positive common divisor of A and B. So C divides A and C divides B. Therefore, C divides BQ also, and therefore C divides A minus BQ also, because C divides A, C divides B, C divides BQ. Therefore, C divides A minus BQ. Therefore, C divides A and C divides BQ. So C divides A and C divides BQ together imply that C divides their linear combination. That is, C divides A minus BQ. But A minus BQ is what? C divides A, C divides R, and C divides P is also known to us. So from all these, we are going to take just these two parts. What are these? C divides B and C divides R. So C divides A and C divides B. We started with that. So we started with C divides A and C divides B, and we finally arrived at C divides R and C divides B. So we will write down the observation once again. C divides A and C divides B implies that C divides B and C divides R. Now you may be thinking that why we are dropping this C divides A. That is not very relevant to us right now. We will see why it's like that. So we are interested only in these two things: C divides B and C divides R. C divides R is something that we derived. C divides B is given to us. Okay. So any common divisor of A and B will divide B and R also. Now, on the other hand, if C dash is a common divisor of B and R, that is, C dash divides B and C dash divides R, C dash is the positive common divisor. It's a positive. So in this case, C dash divides BQ, C dash divides R. Therefore, C dash divides BQ plus R. But what is BQ plus R? C dash divides A. So from C dash divides B and C dash divides R, we finally arrived at C dash divides A and C dash divides B. Therefore, any positive common divisor of B and R is a positive common divisor of A and B. So the conclusion is this: C dash divides B and C dash divides R implies C dash divides A and C dash divides B. So if we take common divisor of A and B, that's a common divisor of B and R. That means set of all common divisors of A and B, that is a subset of set of all common divisors of C and R. That is C A B, that is a set of all common divisors of A and B is a subset of C B R. And set of all common divisors of B and R. See, in the previous step, we have taken C dash, a common divisor of B and R, and we got that to be a common divisor of A and B. So CBR is a subset of CAB. So since these two sets are subsets of each other, they together imply that the set of all common divisors of AB and set of all common divisors of BR are exactly the same. Therefore, what about the GCDs? GCD of AB is the largest. So largest from this. And GCD of BR is the largest from this. Since these two sets are the same, largest also must be the same. Therefore, GCD of AB is the same as GCD of BR. This is the crucial observation that we have using division theorem, and this is the backbone of Euclidean algorithm. So we proved the following. Show that GCD of AB equal to GCD of BR, where A equal to BQ plus R, 0 less than or equal to R less than B. It's a remainder as per division theorem. So we have proved that GCD of AB and GCD of BR are exactly the same. The next observation that we are going to make for proceeding towards Euclidean algorithm is the following. So this is the observation. If R positive, GCD of R and 0 is just equal to R. This we have already seen, because whenever we have the set of all common divisors of R and 0, the set of all divisors of 0 is the set of all natural numbers itself, and whatever set of all positive divisors of R we take, that's going to be a subset of natural numbers. Therefore, the intersection finally gives us the set of all divisors of R as the set of all common divisors of R and 0. So it's going to be the largest divisor of R is just R itself. Largest common divisor of R and 0 is therefore going to be equal to R itself. This is the second crucial observation for our Euclidean algorithm. Now we are going to make the precise statement and steps of the algorithm. The most important tool we are going to make use of is the identity that GCD of AB equal to GCD of BR, and that GCD of a non-zero positive integer and 0 itself is the non-zero positive integer itself. So let A and B positive integers, because we know that even if we take negative integers, we can take the modulus of these two integers and find out the GCD. That's going to be the GCD of A and B itself. And this is an algorithm. And what is meant by an algorithm? An algorithm is a step-by-step procedure which will help us to find out or to deduce some conclusion in a finite time. So the basic assumption about algorithm is that it will reduce our task, it will reduce our workload. So to reduce the workload, we are going to assume that A is larger than B. So due to some reason that we will see in the discussions coming. So we are assuming that A is greater than or equal to B. This is not going to cause any harm to us because if we have to find the GCD of A, B, and suppose that A is less than B, then in that case we can reverse the roles of A and B because we know that GCD of AB is the same as GCD of BA. So one of them is definitely going to be greater than or equal to the other, and the largest one we assume to be equal to A, and the smaller one we call it as B. And remember that if A is equal to B, then there is no need to find out the GCD using any technical steps because we know that the largest common divisor of A and B, since A is equal to B, then divisors of A and divisors of B are the same. Therefore, GCD is going to be the largest divisor of A, which is A itself. So if A is equal to B, if A equal to B, then GCD, if A equal to B, then GCD of AB equal to A itself. Therefore, there is no need to use any algorithm. So assume that A is strictly greater than B because A equal to B, we know we can solve that easily. Now we suppose that A is greater than B. So we use division theorem. By division theorem, uh, we can write A is equal to B Q naught plus R naught, where Q naught is some integer, 0 less than or equal to R naught less than B. Now, by the previous observation, we have to find, instead of finding GCD of AB, we can find the GCD of B and R naught. So, what is the relation between A and B? B is less than, B is positive, so 0 less than, B less than A. So, we have to find the GCD of B and A. Instead of that, by the previous observation, GCD of AB is the same as GCD of B R naught. So instead of finding the GCD of A and B, we can find the GCD of B and R naught. Now B is less than A and R naught is less than B. Therefore, we have to now find the GCD of two smaller numbers. That is the good thing about this observation. Instead of finding the GCD of larger numbers A and B, A we replace with B, which is smaller than A. Instead of B, we are writing R naught, which is smaller than B. So we have two smaller numbers. That makes our life much more easier. Now, if R naught equal to 0, what happens? If R naught equal to 0, then we know that GCD of B R naught is equal to B itself, and GCD of B R naught is nothing but GCD of AB, that's equal to B. So if R naught is equal to 0, we will stop. We have found the GCD to be equal to B. So we suppose that R naught is not 0, then we proceed. In that case, we are going to make a slight change and we are going to once again make use of division theorem as follows. We are going to write B in terms of R naught. Q1 R naught plus R1, where 0 less than or equal to R1 less than R naught. We are trying to divide B with R naught. Now, what about GCD of, we have to find GCD of B and R naught to find the GCD of A and B. But GCD of B and R naught, we know that this is equal to GCD of R naught and R1. If R1 equal to 0, what happens then? Then GCD of R0 R1 will be equal to R0, but GCD of R0 R1 is GCD of B R0. This is equal to R0, but GCD of B R0 is GCD of AB, that's equal to R0. So if R1 is 0, we stop at this particular step and we get the GCD to be equal to R0. Therefore, we are getting the last non-zero remainder. See, in the first step we have A is equal to B Q naught plus R naught. Second step we have B is equal to Q1 R naught plus R1. And we have the first remainder R naught. If R naught is 0, we stop at that point taking B to be the GCD. If R1 is 0 instead of R naught, we take R naught to be the GCD. That is the last non-zero remainder. And one more observation is here that in every step we are bringing down the remainder at least by 1. So suppose that we are not getting 0 even here. Suppose that we are continuing like this. We will go to the next step. What is the next step? Instead of B, we have to take R not equal to. So in the next step, if if R1 is not equal to 0, R not equal to R1 Q2 R1. Q2 R1 plus R2, where 0 less than or equal to R2 less than R1. Now, again, as in the previous case, GCD of R0 R1 equal to GCD of R1 R2, and if R2 equal to 0, then GCD of R1 R2 is going to be equal to R1 itself, and we stop. And R1 R2 is R1, but GCD of R1 R2 is R0, GCD of R0 R1, that's also R1, but GCD of R0 R1 is equal to GCD of B R0, that is therefore R1, therefore GCD of AB will be equal to R1. So what we are saying is, suppose that the remainder becomes 0 at some step, the GCD is going to be the non-zero remainder in the previous step. So if we continue like this, we suppose we reach at, after several steps, we continue like this, we will be getting remainders like this. We have first remainder is R naught, then before that B, first remainder is R naught, B is greater than R naught, greater than R1, greater than R2, etc. We keep on going like this. But each and every step, B is greater than R0. Therefore, R0 is less by B at least by 1. R0 is less than R1. So R1 is less from R0 at least by 1. Therefore, we have to definitely reach a stage when the remainder becomes equal to 0 at some Rk. This is Rk minus 1, and remainder becomes 0 because in each and every step we are reducing the remainder by at least 1. Therefore, we must definitely get the remainder to be equal to 0 at some step, and that step we call as Rk, and the non-zero remainder is Rk minus 1, that is the last one. Therefore, GCD of Rk minus 1, Rk is definitely going to be equal to Rk minus 1, but that is equal to GCD of Rk minus 2 and Rk minus 1, etc. If we keep on going like this, we will finally get this to be equal to GCD of B R naught. This is equal to GCD of A B. Therefore, the GCD of A and B will be the last non-zero remainder in the long division algorithm process. 0 we will definitely get as a remainder because in every step we are reducing the remainder at least by 1, and we are starting with a finite number. Therefore, suppose that B, for example, it is 10. The next step, the remainder is going to be at most 9. In the next step, the remainder is going to be at most 8 because we have to reduce it by at least 1. So next step it's going to be at most 7, then 6, then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and finally it must definitely become equal to 0. And the remainder just before the 0 step, the remainder just before we get the remainder to be equal to 0, we take that remainder to be the GCD. That remainder is in fact the GCD of A and B. This is what the Euclidean algorithm says. So the Euclidean algorithm says that if we continuously apply the division theorem, we can find GCD to be the last non-zero remainder in the division theorem process. So Euclidean algorithm says that GCD of A and B is the last non-zero remainder in the process, last non-zero remainder in the process, A equal to BQ naught plus R naught, B is equal to R naught Q1 plus R1, etc. Maybe we will write one more step. R naught is equal to R1 Q2 plus R2, etc. We keep on like this, and GCD is the last non-zero remainder in this process. That is what Euclidean algorithm says. That is what we actually proved. So now we will see an easy example on how to use the Euclidean algorithm for finding the GCD of two numbers. So the question is the following: find GCD of 120 and 28 using Euclidean algorithm. So we can take 120 to be A and 28 to be B because the largest one is 120. So write A is equal to 120, B is equal to 28. Now we are going to express A in terms of B using division theorem. A or 120. So 28 in 120 we have 4 times. So 28 into 4, and the remaining is 8. So now we have to take 28, and that's equal to 8. This is we have B, this is we have R naught. Now we take B equal to R naught into what is remaining. So 8 into this is 3 plus 4, this is R1. So now we write 8 equal to R1 into R1 is 4, 4 into 2, this is R1, this is R0 plus 0. So this remainder is 0, therefore this is the last non-zero remainder. Last non-zero remainder is 4. So GCD of 120, 28 is equal to 4. Now, one more question. This is an exercise. Find the GCD of the two numbers 2076 and 1776. This is equal to what? This is an exercise. So we have verified Euclidean theorem and we have verified Euclidean algorithm. We have seen Euclidean algorithm and also so that why it actually works. And we have so we saw the Euclidean algorithm in action in one example, and we can do many other examples like this. So the good thing about Euclidean algorithm is that if we have to find, for example, the GCD of 120 and 28, then we have to write down all the divisors of 120, and the divisors of 120 are 1, 2, 4. After that, 6 is there. 8 is probably there. All these things we have to take, and then we have to take the devices of 28. It's going to be a huge task. But instead of that, here we completed the evaluation, the finding of GCD in 3 steps. 120 equal to 28 into 4 plus 8, 28 equal to 8 into 3 plus 4, and 8 equal to 4 into 2 plus 0, and that's it. So we finish the computation of GCD in just 3 steps instead of finding all the divisors of A and B or 120 and 28. And we can see that by finding GCD using Euclidean algorithm, The number of steps we have to perform are much more less compared to what we have to actually do in if we are using the direct definition for finding the GCD. That's why we are using Euclidean algorithm for finding the GCD all the times.